everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for being here with me today. If you are like me, you probably buy all of the pretty things, right, when it comes to paper crafting, and then maybe feel a little bit overwhelmed about actually using them. So that's going to be my goal for today's layout. I'm making a double page to fit all of these photos on it. I have 9 total. And I went through my stash and I found this pattern piece of paper from a mix and collection from last year from Close to My Heart. And then I'm using just a couple of pieces of cardstock, and other than that, I really just did some stash diving. So I have these stamp sets from some recent National Scrapbooking Day specials and Stamping Month specials. And then I have these fun die cuts here too, also from a recent special from Close to My Heart. Just, some things that I had sitting in my craft room that I haven't had a chance to really dig into and play with yet. And that's the problem, right? We buy all of the things and then sometimes there's just too much and it's overwhelming. So I'm going to force myself to use some of them on today's layout just because I have them and that's what they're for, right? So what I did is I went ahead and I cut all my pieces and I prepped them, but then I decided that I didn't really like this gray cardstock here. The pattern that I'm using comes from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 5 book, and it has all the photos matted in a variety of different colors. So I decided I didn't want to use the gray, but rather than wasting that piece of cardstock, what I'm going to do is just cut it, and then I'm going to stick those 2 pieces together, and then I'm going to use this to cut out my title. So even though I changed my mind, I still ended up using the cardstock, so I felt like that was a pretty good use for it. I'm going to cut out the word run, and I definitely have enough space on this little leftover piece here to cut it out twice. So it'll end up being 4 pieces of cardstock high. So I'll take that over to my die cutting machine in a minute. But I'm going to switch over my cardstock color here and mat it in a mint color instead. So I have that 1 piece of pattern paper, and then I've got bluebird cardstock, clover, mint, capri, just a whole bunch of blues and greens, and I thought that they were really pretty together. So I'm just gonna etch distress this with my coordinating ink pad. I did that to all the other photo mats as well. Other than the papers themselves, I don't have anything stuck down to my page just yet because I'm still kind of thinking about how I might incorporate some of those stamps that I have sitting on my desk. So I kind of wanted to lay it all out and get a feel for things first. But I've gone ahead and cut those letters out of that gray cardstock. And like I said, I just did the word run, ran it through twice, and those 2 pieces of paper were stuck together. So I'll have 4 pieces of cardstock. It adds a nice bit of dimension without needing to worry about foam tape. So I'll just glue those together and then sit them under my block to dry. Now, as I was gluing those letters together, I was just kind of in the mode, and you'll notice I accidentally put glue on one of them, and I should not have done that. So luckily, I still had that other little photo mat from my 3x3 photo, so I did the exact same trick, cut it in half, and ran that letter end through one more time just to fix that. So I did finally finish out my title. Now I'm going to put the title up here in the top. There's a lot of white space up there, and I felt like it needed a little something more. So I grabbed my mint ink pad and a blending brush, and I'm just going to take a little bit of time to put a wash of color behind where the title will sit. And I think that's really going to ground it a little bit more than just kind of floating up there in all of that white space. So my letters should be nice and dry now. So let's kind of put those down and see how it looks. I do want to build on the title. I don't want it to say just the word run. I have pulled another stamp set from my stash, one that I love. It's called See You at the Finish Line, and it's all about racing and triathlons and 5Ks and things like that. And so there's a phrase in there that says like you mean it. So you can pair it with the word run, like you mean it. And I think I want to use that, but I'm just not quite sure how. So I'm going to kind of set that to the side for right now, and I'll come back to that idea a little bit later. So again, just using some of the stamp sets from these recent specials and projects and kits that I have gotten. I just want to keep using them now that the kit is completed. So this is from the It's the Little Things mini album kit, and it put together a really cute little mini album, but I love the stamp set, and I think I'm definitely going to be able to use it a lot more. I stamped out the one that has words like super and awesome, incredible. And I'm going to put it on a circle and put that over to the side there. And I'm going to use it to create a little bit of a cluster here off the side of my photo. So now I am using another stamp set from a recent kit from National Scrapbooking Day month, and that is the Endless Sunshine kit. So maybe you got this as well, and you, like I did, I have made my album, and it's a really cute album, but now what, right? Like I've still got that stamp set. It's meant to create a bunch of different suns, so it's got like sun rays and circles and things like that. I think I'm going to use it for some background stamping, and I can definitely see still getting a lot of use out of the stamp set. So I'm just grabbing those coordinating ink colors and kind of switching them up and using different circles and sun rays and things like that just to create that cluster over here that my little sentiment is going to sit on top of. So just using all of the colors, and I'm going to repeat the same process over on the right side of the page or on the right page of the double layout. But I want to finish it up first here on this one just to make sure that I know what I need the other side to look like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue my letters down so I can figure out the rest of that title. I like to use my T-square ruler and my Versamat just to make sure that I can put things like this down straight. I apologize about my head getting in the way, but I wanted to make sure that I had everything on correctly and in the right spot. So just going to use my liquid glue there to get that down. And then I was kind of feeling like that other half of the title just, I don't know, it just looked a little weird. And so what I decided to do is, still using that same stamp set, I'm going to use this little scallop stamp here, and I'm going to stamp it down in some Bluebird ink as almost like a little shelf for the rest of that title to sit on. And when I was all done with the stamping, I wasn't sure that I loved it. I think it definitely looked better having that little scallop underneath of it, but I still felt like it looked a little strange. So you'll see later how I take some of the die cut embellishments and kind of jazz it up a little bit, and then I was much happier with it in the end. But yeah, this title definitely kind of gave me a little bit of trouble as I was trying to figure out what I was doing. Again, so sorry about my head being in the way there. All right, while I have that same stamp set out, I've grabbed a scrap piece of white cardstock, and there are two little arrows on there. One says love this and the other says besties. And I'm going to stamp those in Capri and Clover ink and then fussy cut them out. And I'm going to put them over the photo of my two daughters. So it's kind of funny because we were there for a kids race, and my daughter who ran it is really not a runner. She hates running, but she did such a great job, and she was so proud of herself. It was really cute. You can see her pride in all of these photos and the big smile that she has on her face. And my younger daughter, who actually is a bit of a runner and much more outgoing, she kind of had like a little bit of a nervous moment when we were there. She got kind of scared because there were a lot of people and it was really crowded, and she ended up not running it. So it's just kind of funny how, the kid that I would have expected to back out ended up running it, and then vice versa. So, but still a really fun memory and day, and I'm really glad to be recording it. I had so many photos, so I am using a 3x3 flip flap here. I'm just trying to make sure before I put that bottom photo glued down to the page, I want to put down my flip flap first, because that way I can use that bottom photo just to hide a little bit of that adhesive strip from the flip flap, and I can set it over the top. I did get it down just a little bit crooked, so I was able to very carefully peel that up and kind of wiggle it around until I had it on straight and correctly. Okay, so I'm pretty much ready to do just the embellishing at this point, and finish the embellishing, I guess. So again, I have these cardstock die cuts from a Cardstock Carnival special that Close to My Heart did in April. They run it every April, and they always have some really fun deals. And again, they just kind of had been sitting in my craft room in a box, and I had never played with them. And I really wanted to challenge myself to do that on today's project, because I'm like, I've got these stamp sets that came from little kits, and I have these cardstock die cuts and all of these things that, I get really excited to buy them, but then there's like so much stuff in my craft room that sometimes I feel overwhelmed and I don't really use them to the extent that they deserve to be used. So again, that was my goal for today. So I was really happy to use them, and they worked out perfectly. I pulled out the clover colored one and the bluebird colored ones, and so they matched my cardstock perfectly. I was just using arrows and stars and like one little tab, and I'm just going to kind of spread them around, and I'll put them down with some liquid glue. And that was it. This layout actually came together very quickly, just using those stamps from those project kits and one other stamp set that I had in my stash, one piece of pattern paper from an older pack, and then little bits of cardstock, and that was pretty much it. So anything that is available, I will leave linked in the description box down below. But I know I can't be the only scrapbooker out there who has, a bunch of stuff that just isn't really getting used the way that we would really like to. So I would encourage you to also do maybe a little bit of stash diving and see what you have sitting on your desk that you could use on a project like this. And just really happy to get so many photos down on this double page. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching and that you feel inspired. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Happy crafting. See you next time.